is Saturday. Just for you
Yeah, I
know,
know. I thought
and
that's how interesting. We're just going to go and roll into this and just keep talking as if, oh,
yeah,
hey,
I,
there's people.
hey, you're coming to us from the cave in the sky because that's where you live now.
Yes, and I keep it's getting hot here. We're supposed to be 100 degrees this coming week, which means that the shades stay predominantly down all of the time. And whenever somebody who else might live along with me puts it up for the glorious light, I usually feel it by the temperature rising. Because no matter how good the reflective capability, the name, the acronyms that matter, if this is a green building or not, the sun burns you silly. Of course, it also helps that we are now in a concrete oven right here with
Yeah.
the Veer going around to the Aria, going around to the Waldorf Astoria.
Oh yeah, yeah. That whole area is a thermoplane of
Yeah.
joyous heat. So here we are. We were talking about Michael and I before we went live. We're talking about thrillers. My Rick Bannock. I want to rejuvenate that because it's well received. It's just I didn't give it the proper marketing. I think I'm in a better place to market that. So I was going to add another book to that series of one book. I know it deviates from my normal science fiction, but the thrill, I love it. I love writing that one. And I'm looking at possibly adding another author. I've reached out to somebody for a second thriller series to go into it with two different series and tap the market that way.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and I had made the statement that I think it's a more actively engaged market than science fiction. And Michael asked me what did I mean by that, and I think the snowball rolling down the hill is more effective in thrillers because once the word gets out, hey, I love this book, that word of mouth seems
Hmm.
to travel farther, faster with thrillers. Seems I don't have hard data, but I've seen people chalk up some huge numbers with a good book, and I've gotten some quotes from on my one thriller from a New York Times bestselling author, from a USA Today bestselling author, and these were sole projects, not group projects, to get those. And
To get
they
those.
said this is a great book, this is a great story, compelling, and so I wanted to get back into that. And what also is Monster Case Files, another mystery series, more YA flavored, but it's clean for adults, just like Nancy Drew. So I just finished rewriting that. It's up for pre-order through LMBPN on for May 11th. May 11th, that 9-book series in one set goes live, and it's 250,000 words of mysteries, not thrillers, but mysteries. And I'm like, hey, this is a good. It's good, engaging. It fits with my entertainment and pulp approach. But that's me thinking out loud about another market because you can't rest on your laurels. You got to keep moving forward. The windshield view of the world is better than the rear view mirror view. So, anyway, we have Michael Anderle today, who's a 7-figure author, and here I'm doing all the talking, and I'm a
No, no,
dork.
that's fine. Because I like to ask questions, right? Because
Yeah.
I question that which I don't understand or don't know or don't perceive. So when you had said that thriller was a much more engaged audience, my mind, when you said engaged, meant that they were getting into the characters and they would have pop culture references and
Hmm.
I guess I don't see that kind of fandom around it, right?
Oh no.
And so an example would be, Lee Child's character. They have a movie out of it, sure, but there's not a bunch,
Yeah.
a massive people. So anyway, that's why I was asking you now
Oh,
your
okay. Yeah.
actual clarification definition of there's better word of mouth. Like, or if something goes, and perhaps if it's not word of mouth, perhaps what it is as soon as he gets to be seen enough, thriller people are on it. There's maybe they have a different, and I'm totally speculating here, folks, but maybe perhaps they have a different modality of actually acquiring people's interests than something, say, in sci-fi or urban fantasy, what I'm familiar with. And I can believe that. I can absolutely believe it because, it's a different mindset of those that love
Yeah.
thrillers. Their dopamine hits are different than whatever else is going on.
Yeah. Well, and sci-fi now. Nobody's not too many people are cosplaying thriller characters just
Yeah.
from a thriller book that they read. But sci-fi, absolutely, people get into it. There's games. It's more of an engaging because it's a new world. Nobody wants to play a thriller game because you kind of live that, and you can watch it on TV, and you watch the news, and you get more thriller,
Yeah.
and it's just a nonstop nonstop assault on your senses. But they enjoy a good thriller novel because they can get through it, and it's resolved. It's resolved in the end.
Okay. Mark Leslie Lefebvre would like to know, are you going to have a whiskey tasting or beer tasting?
I have coffee. It's 8 in the morning for me, and actually, I tell you what, Mark, I was thinking about that because with my paid Be Live subscription, I can do 4 people at once. So I was thinking about doing a beer tasting, inviting everybody, and then I'll just rack them up one at a time. They taste whatever beer they have, and then I drop them off and bring a new one in, and see how that works. So we can do a daisy chain of beer tasting because I really want to crack that dark that I have. That's just that monster bottle with the big old cork. I want to crack that and see what that tastes like.
So it, the follow-up question also that I thought was really switching genres or writing in multiple isn't risky. Yes, it is. So you were correct to ask the question. It is risky, but there's a couple of different opportunities here. One of which is um, people just want, they cannot write the same genres. I do believe my personal success has been that when I found a series that was resonating, I stuck with it. I didn't stop it and jump and start another one. A lot
Yeah.
of people are not in that in that situation though. They haven't found that series that's resonating or the genre that resonates with them. Further, you have someone like Craig who started later in life who loves multiple genres, and the two options that are applicable there is something I can speak about that we did yesterday, but also just writing in different genres, writing a clear genre, different book, because it's kind of like wine tasting, I guess. Not that I've ever been wine tasting, but that you have to clear the palate and do something else. But usually that's best between series, not in the middle of an ongoing series. The other one is something that I did yesterday where I work out with the collaborators, with other collaborators, and I really start finding out what is it that they like, what is it that they love to read, what are the tropes that they really enjoy within that genre, and I start finding out that there are similarities between the tropes, and we start moving those tropes back and forth until we align on one marketing genre, but we bring the tropes in from the different other genres in order to allow the writer to have a series that if it goes to a lot of books, they can still be entertained themselves versus being, stuck within a fence of a genre.
And for everyone out there, my first 4 books were in 3 different genres. 2 were sci-fi, but one was post-apocalyptic and one was sci-fi adventure. Very, very different approaches. And then the other one was the thriller, the one thriller that I wrote. And I didn't get any traction until I published books 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the sci-fi adventure. And then it's like, okay, because I'm interested in that. I can relate to the readers. And just like Michael, I wrote what I wanted to read. And I found people just like me who liked reading, who liked the background of playing certain role-playing games from the 70s and 80s. And then it resonated. And then I found the readers who liked cats resonated with that book, as bizarre as it is. So if you're a cat lover, hey, here, I have a book for you. Weird. If you're a cat lover and like science fiction, you'll love this book, and they do. Um,
That's actually clarified. That's a wonderful marketing mix, by the way, because people who love particularly dogs and cats, especially, and then just do a sub filter on Facebook for who loves both your genre and that pet. Now you have a large target audience to go after.
and yeah, and my tagline is a cat and his human minions. And then I have a picture. It's a sci-fi picture. There's a cat in there somewhere, and Bob's your uncle. But I didn't find traction until I wrote in one genre. And one thing that I'm doing this year, I'm over 10,000 words into Bad Company 7, Michael.
Yes.
So this
Keep it
one,
up. Keep the pressure up, people. Keep the pressure up.
this is, but I'm wrapping up this one and then Nightwalker 8, which is only going to be 25, 30,000 words. Those are my next 2 books. and they wrap 2 series. I've already finished 3 other series in the last 6 months. So I've finished series, and as I'm expanding, I have one new one with Michael that I'm looking at, Where Tigers in Space on a search, and then like rejuvenating my thriller brand. And it's okay because I have a foundation readership that's probably going to go over and read my thriller. Many of them have already that one. So if I put a new one out, I'll be able to start marketing that one, put a discount it and things like that, and find that readership. And plus, I'm in a position like, and thanks to Michael, that I know a lot of thriller authors now.
Oh.
And so I can reach out, and I'm comfortable reaching out, as opposed to the hey, can you read my book? And nobody ever heard of me, because we try to do stuff for everybody, help all authors because of Rising Tide and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm in a better position now after being writing for 5 years. So it's a little bit different world. So I'm approaching it that way. I'm not switching genres back and forth or jumping. I'm just exploring, let's say, exploring new opportunities. Is this a Q&A? Yes.
Yes.
If you want to ask questions, go ahead and ask.
And I do like that Lauren's comment about he wouldn't mind a thriller lifestyle, but only if Vincent Price had been doing the narration. Since Vincent Price has passed away, you are safe with your thriller lifestyle.
With your non-thriller lifestyle, because we don't have Vincent Price narrating it.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, who won? Did you ever give me this information, by the way?
Oh, fuck, I forgot.
You lost.
Yeah, I was jamming. I got 2,000 words on Bad Company 7 today. I love this book. It's already my favorite.
So everybody here, can y'all help me? Because I believe I reached out to the right person who won last week, won the Amazon Kindle. I didn't get a hold of her right away, and then I found out how difficult it was to get a hold of her. So I messaged her, I want to say on the weekend, and then I don't think she ever saw my message. And I think she might have talked to somebody else trying to catch me another route. So the lady who won last week for the Amazon Kindle 8-inch Fire, I had it fully decked out, ready to, just needed her address, location to send it, and I never did that. So my
email Mike at.
No, let's not do that, shall we?
Oh.
Oh, well, screw it. You know what? It's not like it's hard to figure out. Mike at lmbpn.com. If I could get that information, that would be fantastic. And we will do that again.
Solicited manuscripts to that email.
Yeah, Facebook user, wasn't it, Judith? No, she doesn't. She'll use her technology forever. So she still has like an iPhone 8, and I'm like, come on, we can do the iPhone, and nah, she's not interested. It's embarrassing to me. Sad. Art DeForest. It's interesting. Thomas Trester just mentioned Art DeForest just released Fangs and the Nest of Fangs and the Nest of Rats. If you're looking for cat stories, one little tidbit of information: 20 Books to 50K was created with 4 fans of myself that I was teaching. Art DeForest is one of those 4 people.
One of the originals, yes, indeed.
Yes. So he also disappeared for a little while, and he's mentioned it from time to time. I see him every blue moon when he makes a comment, but really, really happy that he joined us to start be one of the first 4 that I started teaching in 20 books. Oh, she posted her name in the admin page. Okay, perfect. I'll get on that.
Name and address. Okay, so it's over there on our admin.
Perfect. I will get that sent out.
Group. Good deal. Thanks, Michael. Really appreciate that. Are we giving anything away today?
You know what? We can, but you're only here for the next 35 minutes. Yeah. So is it worth it to you? I mean, I'm not going to get enough out of you.
No, I don't think so. We'll gin something up for next week, because next Saturday we're going to be here.
Probably not going anywhere. It's a good bet.
I tell you what. On that note, Fairbanks has already started reopening restaurants for dine-in eating.
Nice.
But here's the clincher. Here's the clincher. The restaurants, they said, hey, we're going to be able to open back up, and they asked their employees, and the employees were like, I really don't want to yet.
Hmm.
we're not ready because we're not sure. Fairbanks only had one new case in the last 12 days. We had
Hmm.
a streak of 8 days straight with no new cases. Now, Fairbanks different from normal people. First, we all live separately. There isn't any kind of mass community, even mass transport. The buses within the city have 4 or 5 people that ride them, and that's it. So it's not people drive because you have to here, and uh, I'm not sure Fairbanks, even though they closed the restaurants for dine-in eating, I don't think we ever really changed what we were doing as people. I know the number of unemployed has increased, but Fairbanks has stayed fairly robust. Like today, the reason I have to go is the concrete contractor is coming to take a look at my driveway to level it out, and and I asked them, and they're like, "We're busy as hell." Because I thought, hey, I'm doing you a favor. I'm giving you some paid work here. And actually, the people who did it last time, they said we're full up. We don't have any spots, but we recommend these other guys. And I called them, and they're like, okay, we'll come out and give you an estimate. And I called the boiler place for our annual service, and they did the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, we're open for business. We're busy, but we have Monday morning available. I called on Thursday, so I'm not sure they're that busy, but he'll come out and take a look, and that's all in the garage or the driveway. Nobody has to come into our house and pollute our air if they're not healthy. So that's it's business as usual. But the restaurants, I think only one or two have reopened, even though they were allowed to, and they have to sit so far apart. Staff has to wear masks,
Hmm.
and it's it's some semblance of normality, and probably I'm thinking another 2 weeks or a month, because what the restaurant said is if we reopen and then get shut down, we'll be destroyed because we'll have all this food that we've had to order
Mm-hmm.
and have to sit on it, and then we'll be destroyed because that will destroy our cash flow.
Yeah.
And they cautioned, so they want to reopen when they can stay open.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I understand that. Uh, Certainly, Ann Lowen, thank you very much. Elaine, I don't think no, there's no elevator if you have to level your driveway. Very nice. Nice try. The blue might be going to your brain. Just saying.
Teleportation. We're going for teleportation.
And so, there was another one up here. What's the best way to build a readership with a pen name before putting out your series? Freebie stories on book funnel within your genre, I suppose, is certainly one. We did something that I created a Facebook page before I was known. I created a Facebook page. I paid in order to acquire I acquired 100 likes to the page, which cost me 50 cents a like at the time. This is back in 2015. In order so that when all of the Facebook posts that I was creating would at least have a little bit of activity on it, in order to get that social assurance that somebody like this, whoever this guy was. And so from there, we started to build an audience. So that was one way we did it. Then I started doing snippets, where I would start at the beginning of the book and I would put anywhere from 700 to 1200 words into this first snippet. And then I would start with, word 701 to 1500 for snippet two. And I would release these over time to get people starting to read it. And then, of course, you leave your snippets on something of a cliffhanger, which is very similar to the serializations, where they're engaged to read the next snippets. And it ended up doing so well that people started to not read them because they felt it was like crack. It was like, I need the next snippet now. So that good on
Yeah.
that. But other ways to accomplish getting them, Craig, you want to mention a couple?
I like. I'm a big fan of reader magnets, but reader magnets that give the readers a sample of how you write. And this was a mistake I made. I wrote a, a satire, a comedy, not really
Hmm.
space opera or science fictiony, and that was what I was using for my free thing when people signed up for my newsletter. And it wasn't representative of the way I usually write. Now I have a bunch of short stories, so I give them 5. And I made a big mistake with SendFox this morning because I went to
Oh.
the automation and I wanted to add a single person who had just joined one of my MailChimp lists. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, geez, she needs to be over on my SendFox list. So I tried to individually add her to my SendFox list, and I resent my 5 email onboarding sequence to my entire
Oh
list.
no.
And you can do that with one click. And I sent that. I'm like, holy shit, what did it just send it to? And I checked, and hey, there, because I'm on my own list with 3 different emails, and there it is. It
Oh
said all
no.
3 of them got the first one, and 3 days from now they'll get the second one. Now I've gotten a bunch of answers from old people who have been on the list who joined and didn't get any of these free short stories. So they're like, "Hey, great, thanks for the story." I'm like, "Oh, geez, okay, thanks, man. I meant to do that." Uh, uh, I, I I hope my unsubscribe isn't through the roof because of those people who just went through it. Now they're going through it again because one click easy to dork yourself. So I worked way too hard for every one of those emails to lose them that quickly. But that's what. How do you get readership? You convince them that your stuff is worth reading and that they want to read it. Like Michael was saying with snippets,
On
with
Facebook?
my short stories that I put through BookFunnel and share that way. Those kinds of things, you have to reach out and find them. They're not going to passively find you. And Jenna Marecki talked about this yesterday in YouTube. She said they're not going to. You're not just going to put stuff out there and they'll magically find you. You have to go after them with intentionality regarding what you do and what you write. Because when she tried to do YouTube, that wasn't related with how she was writing her books, she was finding no traction. But as soon as she made the real Jenna, and here's how my books really sound, then she took off, and she has over 200,000 subscribers now on her YouTube channel.
Very nice. How do you like SendFox? What's your thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways?
It is easy. That little issue with making that mistake on the automate, because I couldn't cancel it. Once it starts, you're kind of boned. I couldn't find where unless I stopped the whole sequence. I couldn't stop all those. So I need to go back in there now that it sent out the first one and see if I can stop the rest of them before they go. The Otherwise, it's simple, it's easy. People complain about not being able to put a link on an image. Yes, you can do that. You just put your cursor before it, drag it down until the image is highlighted, and then link it. And when you hit the link button, it's up at the top. You can't see it. You then have to scroll down, and just below your image, then you'll see, link. You'll see that link pop-up box, and then
So
you put
not
it
the
in there.
definition of easy to use.
And once you do that once, you realize, oh yeah, this is how you do it. With MailChimp, you just click on the image and it comes up. You have a little bit of a game with it, but they'll refine this. This is the people who own AppSumo or KingSumo. They'll refine it. It'll get better, but that was really, really easy to do once you figured out what you had to do.
Okay.
So I do like SendFox because it's so, and the deliverability. I like it because it's delivered my goddamn emails. MailChimp, I was down to like a 3% delivery, and with SendFox, I'm at 50%.
Nice.
I mean, that's hundreds and hundreds of additional emails are getting delivered.
Very cool. Good to know that. A lot of people talking about having to do their email. I agree. I was definitely one that dragged my feet. You could argue that what I chose is not to make email a primary and so much and chose other things to build. There you go. Steven's comment, a lot of dragging my feet. Wish I could have figured this out earlier, but I'm glad I finally did. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's not necessarily, I would have figured, yeah, it was. I would have figured this out earlier. You can, it's just what are you choosing to prioritize? And for ourselves, we definitely chose to prioritize more books, more books, more
Yeah.
books, more books.
Yeah.
So,
And that's people with lists. Jenna said she has 2 books out in 5 years. And she says she still gets sales every time she sends out her newsletter, like once a month, with, hey, here's an update, here's what's going on, here's my next book, here's whatever, and still get sales off a newsletter that with 2 books, you think everybody would have bought her book, but no. So once you get a reader to like your stuff. So one thing I didn't do well is I didn't put, please sign up for my newsletter. You really need to, just to stay in touch, because I don't know when I'm publishing the next book, but only as soon as possible. And okay, when you publish a lot of books, people didn't necessarily sign up for the newsletter because, hey, you'll have another book out in a month, good to go. Not really the case. You want to be able to reach out and touch their noses and say, hey, here's my new book. Here's me. Here's what's going on in my life. I'm still alive, sufficiently not dead. So all
I've used
kinds of good stuff that
yeah.
you use
I've used
Squarespace.
Squarespace a couple of times, and while they do have some incredible, maybe I should get over here in the camera. They do have some incredible templates, and they look good, but yeah, some of their stuff is not the easiest to use, I found, at least the most obvious, but I come from a WordPress background. So, trying to understand how they thought the interface should go was also difficult for me last time I tried it. So the features aren't clearly explained. I completely agree. There are issues. Lawrence's comment about any pointers or tutorials for creating the onboarding sequence. Is there a book out? I thought his book went out last year.
Tammy Lebrecht's Newsletter Ninja and then Newsletter Ninja 2. I think both of those books are available. And I'm not sure about an automation sequence, but I expect it's on there. I know David Gogren also has talked about automation sequence on his blog. Okay. So those are some places to look, but Newsletter Ninja is probably your best single resource for newsletters.
Excellent. Yep, another one, Dean Kutzler. Yes, Newsletter Ninja. Yeah, definitely write more books. The best marketing. What is your famous kind of saying, Craig, that you kind of pushed for many, many years?
I used to say nothing sells the last book like the next book, but you changed that, and I agree with it. Nothing sells the first book like the most recent book. So, Monday, book 9 is coming out. Hopefully, we want to see book 1 sales pick up, even though we just did an end of a free run. So book 1 sales have been good, but now they'll be getting some information from Amazon now that new release emails are going out again saying, hey, book 9 is out. And if anybody picked up book 1, then they'll see it. If they marked it on Goodreads, that, hey, this is on my shelf, they'll get notified, hey, a new book in this series is out. So Goodreads working with us to try to increase our exposure for authors without us having to actively engage in Goodreads. So.
Yeah, so Lawrence, his follow-up, he's read Tammy's book, but the mechanics of doing it in SendFox is what has him stumped. And it sounds like SendFox, quite frankly, is not quite there yet to make it easy. So don't know if there's a SendFox. Someone had mentioned there's a MailerLite resource coming. Fantastic. SendFox is probably just on that curve of trying, building a product at the same time of explaining, and then it changes, and whatever you build the resource isn't actually accurate anymore.
Yeah.
So probably, Judith, do they get their Goodreads, get its info from Amazon? Yes, since Goodreads is an Amazon subsidiary, it's wholly owned by Amazon. I would not be surprised that they have some connections. I doubt that they scrape it like almost everybody else has to do at this time. Well, it shows that you are totally green. So do you have an answer for that, Craig? That question? Craig?
I'm breaking up because I have 1 bar now with my super cool Sky Roam, and I'm waiting for it to pick back up and go back to 4 or 5 bars before I try commenting without breaking up.
Ah, yes. Okay. So there are multiple SendFox, MailerLite. Anyone add info? Yes, they can add info, but they will typically double check you. I get 4 emails for each one of your new. So whichever Facebook user that is, yes, if you do like Craig and I, you will get a bunch of emails, both from the LMBPN side and then from Craig's personal publishing side as well. Hey, Elaine and Erica, you guys are talking about there's SendFox resource and MailerLite ones. What is this? Who's bringing this out? Do you know, Craig? Who's bringing these resources out for the MailerLite and the SendFox? Anyone? So, ladies,
I do not.
y'all?
I know SendFox has a FAQ.
Okay, all right. We'll find out. They'll let us know.
Hang on, I'm gonna disappear for a second. Let me change Wi-Fi so you can keep talking. You're live.
Okay.
Let me change Wi-Fi here and.
Yeah. So just confirmation. Amazon owns Goodreads. It's Vinny O'Hare getting the emails. Actually, I wanted to speak to Vinny sometime. So if you could reach out to me, just touch base in the next week or two, I would appreciate that. If he's around, here's that. Um, yes, Erica, who's bringing it out? Okay, so it sounds like perhaps Erica is the one bringing it out. Um, or Elaine wants Erica to talk about stabbing a friend in the back. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Erica does admit she's writing a guide for Mailer Lite. So Lawrence, you might actually be able to find Erica just in Slack itself, or just find her on Facebook.
Yeah,
Erica
yeah.
with a K, Everest. Probably should put a shirt out. That's with a K, not a C. So what are some of the other things that are exciting you with what's going on right now?
Yeah, for me, it's uh, it's hard to be excited with everything going on in the world, but we're able to continue our income and our revenue. April has been a pretty good month. My sales have tanked over the last just 3 days. They just stopped all
Really?
of a sudden, and
What?
stop is relative, but became
Hmm.
like 50%. So I'm just wondering where that is, and I stopped. I have the only promotions I had last week were one with my Trad Pub book and one with through LMBPN. So that didn't translate over to my backlist, and so that dropped off. And I see a couple of my ads are now underperforming, so I need to
Hmm.
rejuvenate them. But I've hired a new person that we're training to do Facebook ads, and I think that person will do great. Just need to get up to speed first. So we're waiting on that. And in between, I'll dabble at some ads. James will dabble at some ads for me, and we'll see what we can do.
So I'd like to give an update. I did reach out to Amazon week ago plus, and I got some information back, and I'm waiting for permission. I wrote a slip to put into 20 books, but I really like to make sure that I get approval for saying word for word what they said. But
Yeah.
the gist of what they've said, which has been approved for me to say, on Kindle Unlimited, and this actually comes from not a question so much as an appreciation for what they did. There was a large bump in the Kindle Unlimited fund coming in March, which was a little bit surprising. Craig and I know you and I've spoken about it. Others
Mhm.
have spoken about it. Our expectation for the KENPC was that it was going to substantially drop for April's information. At least that's my recollection, Craig. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure I got the right months. And so when Craig did the calculations and everything on April 15th, I think both of us were not only happy, but we were shocked to find out that the KEMP not only stayed the same, and went up, which was
Yeah.
not something I even remotely considered in as a possibility. So when checking that out, I went to go find out just how much money did they put in. Because remember, the whole aspect of how much they're going to pay per month is they look at how many pages were read. They usually put a little kicker to try to keep it around a certain amount. And there's a backstory of that I would lay on Craig's feet, perhaps. I don't know it to be true, but it seems relevant. Where when we were up in Seattle, and Craig had mentioned one time, they had said, what about XYZ? And you made the point during that conversation that it would be really great if Amazon could try to keep the KENP within plus or minus 10% month over month. So it could go minus 10, minus 10. I mean, yes. And you had mentioned that because from a business perspective, better that it go 46, 44, 41, 43, 44 than 48, 41,
Yeah.
and that type of situation. So you had made that. And so you and I had been speaking, and I was kind of going off of the 10% perhaps drop, which would have taken us from 0.044 to 0.040. So I was personally hoping we went nowhere lower than that
Yeah.
because the expectation was Amazon had flushed 2 months worth of free Kindle Unlimited to a lot of people to help them through this time.
And there was a
And
lot of extra people reading. So more page
yes,
reads, same amount of money would mean a lower payout.
yes, exactly. And then so they did the numbers, and we got 0.046 for I don't know what the total yada 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 yada.
29 million. It was the biggest number ever for a month from the pot.
Yes. So they had that plugged in 1.8 million, I think, month over month, where usually we're in the 100,000 to 300,000, I think, range. And so it was pretty massive how much money they added that month alone to make the pot viable.
Yeah.
And so my first comment to this individual was just thank you to the company for looking at it. Now, the response was very formulaic, very Amazon. I could bet you we find this exact same thing 7 years. And it was the KDP Select Global Fund amount is variable and announced on a monthly basis. We constantly monitor all factors that impact the KDP Select Fund in order to set the fund amount for the KDP Select authors. But I read it with a nuance this time. We constantly monitor all factors. And I felt, as opposed to all of the other times I've read this, I felt that they looked at it from a holistic attitude of we're in a pandemic. We have done these things ourselves, which could have affected it. And they chose a fund amount that benefited those authors in KDP. So I just want to say congratulations. Thank you very much. This was amazing. On another question, the question was related to how many emails we weren't getting new notifications. Something that certainly here at LMBPN, Craig, I know you've done the same thing yourself.
Yeah.
We really pushed getting people to follow our names on Amazon because
Yeah.
if you could locate at one time 50, 60, 70,000 people who'd follow you, which unfortunately don't have that capability at the moment anymore,
Yeah.
we could see a jump in our fans' email responses and sales, and that stopped. The number I've heard is March 10th. I don't know this number to be accurate, but that's just what I've heard. So I finally reached out and said, hey, my belief was that it had gone away on purpose, or either purpose, like they chose not to send them, or they chose to move the resources to another situation due to what was going on with the pandemic. And the answer there was effectively they had chosen to reduce marketing messages. They were coming back on, and they would and they have resumed them. Now, we had seen the evidence already. Craig reached out to me 48 hours before this and said, hey, I just saw an email. And it was almost like seeing a unicorn in the forest, I think, at that
Yeah.
moment in life. So you've
Yeah.
seen an email. And and then we saw more the next day, and so we saw that they were coming back on. So we know the answer was, and personally, as a business person, I agree with their statement. In a time of pandemic, you don't hit them with buy, buy, buy. Not really the wise choice.
Well, because people were buying anyway. They were inundated. They couldn't even fill the orders they were getting in a timely manner because their warehouses were getting. So all of that, when you say looking at all of the factors, all of that went in, and so they cut down the buy newsletters, increased the KENP rate, and are doing things to keep authors happy, even though they weren't promoting our books with something that they pushed. Hey, follow you on Amazon,
Yeah.
and now that's back. But that was situational, very short, and it's back.
And
It's
they're
good.
doing backlist. Let's
Yep,
clarify that because
yep,
Elaine had a good point. Um, when you release a book, Elaine, typically it used to be 4 days a long time ago. It seems like forever. But now it's more like 10 to 12 days after the release of the book, we would see their email. And I
yeah,
have some understanding of why they might have chosen those dates. But now they're going back. We've seen a book released 26 days ago that is getting emails supporting it. So seems like they're going back and cleaning up what they have missed. And then your book will be a part of that going
yeah.
forward.
Oh,
And then,
Elaine's most recent has already hit, has already come out on a new
oh, it
release
has.
newsletter. Yeah,
Okay, excellent. Well, the Mazel Tov.
I think that was
Um,
yesterday or today.
okay, and I'm not even getting them. I don't know what the hell is going on with mine. I am not getting any of my emails. All of you tell me, "Hey, we got your email, Mike," and I'm like, I didn't. I
You
know I
probably had
follow myself.
you probably had your account deleted for giving
I
insider
probably did.
Amazon
No, no, no,
information.
no, 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 no. Don't even remotely put that shit out there, Craig.
We
I do
signed
not do that.
NDAs when we went to Amazon. We had to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, before we talked anything.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, come on in here, sign the NDA. I'm not going to introduce you to anyone. We're not going to say anything until you sign these. It's like, holy crap, dude! And then we
Yeah.
signed another one on a different. Oh, this is a pilot program. You got to sign a different NDA for this one, dude.
Yeah, and
But
then I had
no,
two
that's
lawyers. So that's a fun story that we can tell another time. I had two lawyers, right? So Judith's the JD, Craig is a lawyer, and I'm sitting here and they're like, here are your NDAs. And I'm like, sign,
he,
here's mine.
he,
And they're
he
both
signed
reading
it.
it.
He signed it and was handing it back. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? And
I'm like,
Judith looked.
Yeah. She looked at me like, "Who are you?"
She looked at him like he was just stealing the last chili dog.
And she doesn't even like him. So yeah, so going to Amazon's headquarters with two lawyer type people is not uh, conducive to keeping
I
your
don't I don't
pride.
apologize for reading the NDA before I signed it. I'm not going to apologize for that. And I
Signed
won't
it anyway.
apologize for
I was still right.
I won't apologize for making fun of you either.
Okay, if we were going to
I,
do that, I would go back to the part where you were telling the cop to put me in jail for speeding moments before he arrives to the door to go, "Excuse me, sir." I'm like, "Just shut your mouth, Martell. Shut it."
yeah. Don't put me in jail. I wasn't driving. We told him to stop. We told him to slow down.
And the
The,
other thing got me is just last week I was with Judith and that conversation came up and she's like, "Well, you had a lawyer there. Why didn't you use Martell?" I'm like, Martell was trying to get me arrested. You obviously don't know Craig as well as you think you do."
I'm not going to defend a lawbreaker.
You were there going, "Come on. How fast are we going? All right." He was
Are,
speeding.
it could have been the 74 times of "Are we there yet?" prior to getting pulled over.
Yeah, so it was done. And then the last one was related to a conversation I had asking the question, what about also bots? New books are coming online. Those new books were not showing as an also bot of existing books, which is another marketing opportunity. They were not coming online. And I asked about that. Now, that one was interesting because out of all of them, they said, "We apologize. This was a snafu." They had to look into it. They've corrected the delay of whatever was going on, and that was, coming back online. So 3 out of 3. Really appreciated how they
Good.
supported us. Um, yeah,
I tell you what, my interactions with Amazon have been, and understanding that it is now $1 trillion corporation, yet we still are able to talk to them and get answers, and
not quickly.
not quickly. I mean, but $1 trillion corporation.
Yeah,
You can say, why are you even talking to me? You have so much money, but they've got people to talk with their providers, and we are a resource provider for them. They are just a marketing platform, and so they provide the marketplace where then we all jump in and set up our tables and have our wares. So they understand that they do need to keep us happy. They can't just piss on us. And some people may feel like they do, but honestly, they aren't
that's not,
intentionally.
yeah, no, that
No,
has not ever been their intention.
that was
They do recognize they're not going to keep everyone happy, which
yeah,
is business.
yeah, yep.
But we 20 Books is an agnostic platform group. We do not care who you choose to go through, but we
Nope.
will support every one of them. The big ones, Kobo, Apple, Amazon, Google, everybody else, all the ones that publish Drive and Drafted
Drafted
Digital
digital, yeah.
are supporting that are good people. I guess I personally do use those two companies, Publish Drive and Drafted Digital, as the filters. It's like if you're not on one of their platforms, probably not someone you want to connect with.
Yeah. Well, and Drafted Digital, they went to bat for all indies when Barnes and Noble came out and said, "Sorry, your February royalties are delayed." And then when they finally came out with a message, they said, "We're only going to pay 1/3 of the accrued royalties from February." And Drafted
Hmm.
Digital went to bat with them, went to went to fight with them on behalf of the indies, explained to them that we're not trad pub, you can't hold these payments up, and then D2D went and acquired a credit line, and Dan Wood made a post yesterday in 20 Books 50K explaining it. They went and increased their credit line and said they were going to pay the 2/3 to all of the D2D authors who had accrued royalties in February to pay them. And but Barnes and Noble then came back after they had done that and said, "No, we're going to pay the full royalties, and they will be on time from now on for your
Good,
authors." So,
good.
100% from Barnes and Noble, because Drafted Digital went to bat, explained it, and made it right by the indies.
Yeah, very, very good. There's a lot of good people in our industry, and for that, I'm very grateful. Absolutely here. So Craig, you have 10 minutes. Let's go through and see if we can hit a few of these things. KDB customer server is orders of magnitude better than Cox Internet. So man, yes, if Cox Internet, which, I really can't dog because I think we have Cox Internet and it's been fine for us. But, we're like, is the internet on?
It's
Yeah.
it was plug and play. I mean, you're in a big apartment building, so you didn't have to have anything installed. And as single family homes, holy cow, those are really hit or miss. And once they're live, you want them to always stay live. You don't want to ever have to get somebody to come out to fix an issue.
Yeah, I know, I had, what's the one with an S? The internet that with an S. Anyway, we had over in La Puente before we sold that home, and they had a new application where you could just reboot your own, home from your phone. So, granted, it was a lot more IT technical support than I cared to get into, but I was really appreciative because you're on the wait time for so freaking long that I started dicking around with the phone and just rebooting my computer or my internet connection to my TV. Oh, hey, did you happen to take a look? So, can you give a real fast update, which I think is interesting, for the little pod that you purchased for modem? And oh, look, see, yes, there we go. And yeah, see it on that side, quite nice. And then I sent you that article that you should be able to shotgun internet.
Yeah. If you have a fixed internet, we have two cell phone internet towers because one of the requirements in that one was you have a like a fiber coming into the house, and then the other is
No, 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 no.
a
It's
cell.
you just have to have two different routed, like they
Okay,
can't, the both of those can't go into the same router.
I
Once
don't
they hit
have
the
routers.
right, right. So you should theoretically, at least from what I read, so long
Okay,
as they are distinct internet connections, not routing back through the same
I'll
pipe.
give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. I had only looked at it first, and it led me to believe that you needed one
Yeah,
fiber
that was
connection
the
first.
image where they were showing that you did home and Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah, but I have two separate and unique lines on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So or
So
the
it's an old
Wi-Fi.
technology. Yeah. So Craig, of course, has been mentioning multiple times he uses cell phone, and so when he does these internet things, he's paying an arm and a leg to be able to be on the internet and bring what he brings to everybody. So, that's hundreds of dollars every month out of his pocket to accomplish this. And since the pandemic has been going on, it's been hundreds more of
Yeah,
opportunity. And so it's always been on my mind that if I could ever help in any way, it's not like I can put a cell phone there. I happened to know of something that was going on. I pitched it to him. He reviewed it. You talked to the company, found out that yes, it looked legit. They would
it,
connect into the modem, give you a $50 internet, all you can eat plan.
it works, and it worked in Fairbanks was the big question. This is a little thing. It hooks into the 4G cell tower. It's not through any provider, so they've bought their own space on those towers, and it's $49 unlimited internet. Now, keep in mind, I pay 400 for limited. This month it'll probably it was on track to be $1,000, but now it's probably going to be closer to $700 this month just for the internet. And that's because, hey, I've got the Skyroam that's now taking a lot of the burden off, and I'm only doing the other internet for 20 minutes as opposed to the whole hour. And I could probably jump back to this one now and it would work.
Speedify, I think it was just Facebook user. Actually, Speedify was where I found the document that I sent to Craig, and which is, got the other one as well. So yeah, Speedify. We called it shotgunning back in the day when we had, we had telephone lines, and you could, shotgun those two together. And so I've been telling Craig this for a year before I got off my lazy ass and actually tried finding it because I always spoke to Craig in the car. So it's
Yeah,
like, hey, there's this thing that, and finally I got frustrated enough and went and looked at.
yeah.
Who sells
I
this,
will.
Craig? Someone's asking for the name of that. What
It's
what
Skyroam, Skyroam,
I got it.
and
Go ahead.
Skyroam.
Yeah, and I had got it originally because I was going around the world. So I figured Skyroam, I could use it in, these 122 countries or however many
Yep.
that they have connections in. So that was why I was aware of it. And then of course it didn't work at the home I had in Texas. So if the internet went out in Texas, this little thing had like one bar. And so
Yeah.
you felt like you were back in telephone dial-up days. So versus
Yep. Yep.
going
I
postal.
I need to go. I need to go
All
meet
right.
my driveway contractor. I appreciate everybody being on. Tomorrow I'm taking a day off because Bad Company 7 won't write itself. Need to write that, get working on that, spend tomorrow doing that. And then we'll be back on Monday with Marie Whitaker from Superstars and from Kevin J. Anderson's Wordfire
Oh, she's
Press.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's
Marie,
really nice.
she knows her stuff. We're going to talk project management. So,
And then
just
to
to
answer
help.
the last question really fast before I just say I'm Michael Anderle and out of here is we do not presently have anything in hardback. I do know that people that do, they do it through Ingram Spark, and we totally intend to do that. Wow. One more question in
I,
the
I
cave.
had my hardbacks done through a mom and pop shop out of Florida, and they were massive, like coffee table books, because I put everything in there. They did glossy pages with full color covers for each of the books, and they were only about $60 each or something.
And if I had done anything about building a cell tower, I would have called it LMBPN wireless. Just saying. 4
Yep.
Wi-Fi connections with Speedify. Okay, now I'm gonna have to freaking go check this shit out just because
Yeah, yeah.
I have gigabit and now I want 2 gigabit.
Jesus. Come up here for a little while. It'll make you appreciate your gigabit more. Yeah, yeah. All right. Craig Martelle, Michael Anderle from the Cave in the Sky in Vegas. We will be back on Monday. Thank you very much for stopping by. You guys have a great day today, Saturday.
Take care.